First of all, your machine will be in a carton that you need to unpack, and you need to refer to your manual to make sure that you unpack it and set it up correctly. The most important part is that you do clamp your machine to a table. We are using the bulky 260 for demonstration purposes at this point, but we do want you to realize that the 930 or the KK93 are identical machines, and all parts and functions do work the same. First of all, we will need to thread our machine, and your thread should be on the floor. In threading the machine, you will come up behind the antenna and thread it through the first eyelet, come through the tension rod, making sure that you put your thread into the rod and under the wax that came with your machine. Then you will go through the front eyelet, bring down your antenna, and hook it into the yarn. At this point, we are ready to start actually talking about the parts of the machine. You have 4 positions for your needles on the knitting machine. The first position is A. When the needles are in A position, they will not knit at all. When they are placed into B position, they will knit stockinette stitches at all times. In the D position, which is one step further ahead than that, you are in pattern work, and you will be using your pattern cards when you're doing your knitting. When you are all the way forward to E position, this is considered holding position, and it is a position we use when we are doing short rowing and shaping of some techniques. The carriage also has buttons on it that we use in our knitting. You have a tension dial that regulates the tension the yarn will be knitting at. The lower the tension, the tighter the stitch. To explain this a little bit further so that you understand what is happening with your machine, we're going to take the sinker plate off at this time. If you have your needles in forward position at this point and you take your carriage across, you will see that all the needles move. This means that they would be knitting if we had yarn in the machine. If we were to place our leading part button on here, watch the needles as I go across, and they do not come forward. This means that nothing is happening and it's a free pass. When I do not have those part buttons on, but I place my holding button on, which is on this side of the carriage, and I have needles that are all the way forward, I take my carriage across, you will notice that these needles will knit because you'll see them coming forward. These needles will not. See how they stayed stationary. Once you understand what these buttons are doing and the purpose of them in your knitting, it will make your knitting a lot easier. The other buttons that we have on our machine are the 2 center buttons here, which are used for pattern work, and we also use these 2 buttons on this side for pattern work. You have a KC button on the side of your carriage. Your sinker plate is in the lid of your machine. On the bulky 260s, you will not have these weaving brushes in your machine. All sinker plates are placed onto the carriage this way. Make sure that the groove fits down onto your carriage before you take it across. On the 260 bulkies, you will be placing these tucking brushes in this position. There is a left for left and an R for right so that you cannot get them confused.